Drivers, start your engines. Pull those belts down tight one more time, warm up those tires, hit your marks, and let's go racing, boys and girls. NASCAR, Indycar, Formula One, Formula E, and NHRA Racing Talk. This is the Championship Racing Network. Now here is your host, Steve West and Matt Nicholson, with producer John Myers.
Hey, welcome into it. Final weekend of the month of May in the year 2021. It seems like we are going through 2021 so much faster than 2020 went by.
It's zipping by. Zipping.
Whereas 2020 went by like a 5-year-old waiting for Christmas in January.
Kind of agree with that. I would agree with that.
And also, Memorial Day weekend.
Yep.
And there are weekends and there are things that you kind of sit there and you think, it's hard for me to say Happy Memorial Day because it's a somber kind of a moment. It's a commemoration of the men and women who lost their lives in the service of this country.
Exactly. And I want to send a very, very heartfelt thank you to all the service persons that have served our country.
Absolutely.
In honor of my dad,
Mm-hmm.
he served in World War II on a merchant marine ship,
Yep.
and I believe in the Korean War in the Army.
Okay. My dad went in Navy and transferred while he was in to the Air Force, but he got in after Korea and had been offered, after he had met my mother, and they talked about it, he'd been offered a slot over in Japan. And instead, he decided to take the offer from the VA hospital, so he got out of the military, so he got out just before Vietnam. But I had a lot of my mom's brothers, just about every single one of my mom's brothers served in one branch or another of the military, and more than one of them were in Vietnam, including my Uncle Carl, who it affected him. He never really talked about it after the fact.
Yeah, my dad never talked about anything he did, even in the merchant marines.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah, you very rarely. I didn't have anybody that served overseas in my family, but people that I do know that had experiences like that, they don't talk about stuff like that much at all.
Some of the things that were experienced, obviously, were just way too much for them to be able to to try and come to grips with and put it into words. So, you know, it's in some ways it's a shame because we're missing that part of history.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like talking to World War II vets who experienced D-Day or Pearl Harbor or whatever, and, you know, you want to get to know what exactly, from the first-person viewpoint, how it was handled.
Right.
But, you know, for some veterans, it's just way too hard, and for those we lost, this is what that weekend is for.
Yep.
And we're going to see that tomorrow. In spades in both Indianapolis and Charlotte, as both IndyCar and NASCAR do a great job of commemorating Memorial Day and Memorial Day weekend in pre-race ceremony. So make sure that you get the chance. We'll give you the schedule coming up here in just a little bit.
Yep.
Speaking of which, let's do a recap, and we start with rain in Texas. But in this case, it didn't stop NASCAR. They brought rain tires, or asked Goodyear to bring rain tires, and they did. Camping World Truck Series got things rolling at the end. The driver out front was being told by his crew chief, take it easy on those tires, because he had a 7+ second lead and was using the rain tires that Goodyear had brought down to the Lone Star State. Turns out Todd Gilliland paid very little mind and claimed the win, his second win in his Truck Series career and first since 2019. And with the win, Gilliland claims an extra $50,000 as he won the second race in the Series Triple Truck Challenge. Trailing Gilliland across the line, Kaz Gralla, good run for him. Tyler Ankrum, Grant Enfinger. Sheldon Creed. Where did I get Grant Enfield?
Oh, I don't know.
Suddenly I have to question myself. Enfield, where did that come from? No. Sheldon Creed, Sam Mayer with a good run there. He started pretty far back in the field, if I remember.
No, he started 21st.
Started 21st, he ended 6th. That's not bad at all.
Yeah, real sporty run.
Carson Hocevar, Zane Smith, Austin Hill, Ben Rhodes make up the top 10. By the way, for those of you that are curious as to what truck Sam Mayer was driving, it's the Brett Holmes racing truck that he was driving. That's why we wanted to mention that for all the local people. In the playoffs, due to wins, John Hunter Nemechek and Ben Rhodes, each with 2 wins. Single-time winner Sheldon Creed and now Todd Gilliland. So we got 4 of the 10 slots spoken for. In on points at this time, Austin Hill, Matt Crafton, it's Grant and Finger. Also, Zane Smith, Stuart Friesen, and Carson Hocevar. Johnny Sauter's on the outside looking in. He's 10 points out of that 10th and final playoff spot. Pending what happened last night, we'll get back to that shortly.
Yeah, buddy.
Later that afternoon last Saturday, also running on the wet tires from Goodyear, was prime time for Moonlighters. And listeners of the show for any length of time know that when we see his name on the entry list, we automatically pencil in one Kyle Busch.
Mm-hmm.
Again, for the 98th time, you can take that pencil and put it into ink or Sharpie or whatever permanent marker you choose. Because, yes, he tore away from the field at every single opportunity. And at the checkers, had an 11-plus second lead. Again, win number 98 of his career in the series. Now, he promises he'll be done when he hits 100 wins in the series. I guess we'll find out. In the top 10, second place was A.J. Allmendinger, then Justin Allgaier, Kevin Harvick, Austin Cindric, Harrison Burton, Cole Custer, Tyler Reddick, Justin Haley, and Jeb Burton. Okay, so we have a Moonlighter winning. We have a Moonlighter in 4th, and then we got a Moonlighter again in, 7th? So there you go.
8th.
Yeah, exactly.
Remember Kevin Harvick in
That's
that
true.
B.J. McLeod car.
Well, Cole
And
Custer.
Cole Custer in that Rick Ware car. Remember that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Best career finishes for the organization. Sure.
Yes. So they say it was B.J. McLeod. They say it was Rick Ware Racing, but I guarantee you Stewart Haas Racing had a lot.
Would you
say
like to,
about that.
if I don't know if you caught this or not, but would you like to know who the lead engineer was for the number 5 B.J. McLeod Rush Truck Center's Ford Mustang?
Oh, let's find out.
That would be one Rodney Childers.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lead engineer. Mike Shiplett was the lead engineer for Cole Custer's car, too.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Stewart Haas Racing had more than a couple of words to say about that.
Yeah, they did.
So here we go with the Moonlighter win. No new winners. Austin Cindric's 3 wins still leads. He's the 1 seed at this time. Then you got 2-time winner Justin Allgaier. Single-time winners A.J. Allmendinger, Jeb Burton, and Mayat Snyder. Those are the ones that are locked in. Those that are in on points in the 12 slots that the Xfinity has for playoffs. Harrison Burton leads the way there. Daniel Hemrick, Justin Haley. Jeremy Clements, Noah Gragson, Michael Annett, and Brandon Jones. Jones with a pretty comfortable 26-point lead at this moment over Brandon Brown for that final playoff position. Not over yet, but it's starting to look like it's going to need a win if you're 13th or lower.
Mm-hmm.
Sunday morning, U.S. time, Monaco Grand Prix got rolling for Formula One. So weird not to have it on Memorial Day weekend, but that's Formula One scheduling for you. Charles Leclerc claimed the pole and then couldn't start the race. Suffered a drive shaft issue as the cars were being rolled out onto the grid, and it couldn't be fixed in time, so he was not able to start.
All right. I got to stop you right there.
Uh-huh.
They physically hand-push these cars onto the grid.
Uh-huh. Yeah, they don't drive them out on the grid.
Does the drive shaft have a bearing failure?
Not sure what happened. Never found out.
Now, I
details.
know he had, I saw before we had started our church services on Sunday morning, I'd seen that he had a gearbox issue on Saturday, that the gearbox was inspected and was cleared, and he was able to retain his starting position from the pole.
I wonder if they said drive shaft and actually it was really caused by the gearbox.
Quite possible. I mean, if the gearbox messed up and maybe warped the drive shaft a little bit,
It's possible.
that's very possible. But when you're hand pushing a car to the grid, it's kind of hard for a drive shaft to really tear up, not at speed.
I don't think we'll ever find out the true story because, well, Ferrari tends to keep those kind of cards pretty close to the vest.
Mattia Bonotto.
Yep. Anyway,
Yeah.
Max Verstappen took advantage. He got out in front of Valtteri Bottas on the start and went on to dominate the event. He led all the laps, but those where pit stops were causing the field to cycle through because for the first time in even the announcers who have been longer followers of Formula One than we have on the show, for the first time in their memory, Monaco Grand Prix went caution-free. Go figure.
That was, yeah.
Bottas was able to keep pace with Verstappen, but then he came into the pits to change tires and found out that a lug nut ended up being fused and wouldn't release when he tried to make his first pit stop, so that ended his day. So Valtteri Bottas got credited with a DNF, but at least he finished ahead of Charles Leclerc.
Nice.
It's not saying much. I'm trying to put a spin on it there for you, Valtteri. So Carlos Sainz ends up going up and claims second, his first Ferrari podium finish. Probably not his last.
No.
Lando Norris in third with a good run for him. Sergio Perez was fourth, considering that Sergio was breathing down Lando's neck there for a while in the closing laps. That says something. Lando did a great job there. Sebastian Vettel fifth, and Pierre Gasly. Lewis Hamilton had a bad day. He started about seventh or eighth or whatever it was and came home seventh.
Yeah.
Lance Stroll, Esteban Ocon, Antonio Giovinazzi filling up the top 10 where the results became official. Now, because we have Max Verstappen winning and because we have Lewis Hamilton finishing all the way down in seventh, for the first time, and by the way, since Valtteri Bottas didn't even claim a point because he finished 19th, for the first time since the German Grand Prix of 2018, Mercedes does not hold the lead in either the driver or constructors' cup standings.
And Christian Horner is sitting on his pit box, or the control center, let me say that, with a smirk.
Oh, you know
somewhere.
it. That's a Cat ate the Canary Grill.
Because with Valtteri having his problem with the wheel nut, which tells me probably somebody cross-threaded a wheel nut under the spindle.
We'll get back to that.
Yeah.
So here's the details. Max Verstappen overtakes Lewis Hamilton for the driver's points lead. It is now 105 to 101. These two are walking away from the crowd because third place is Lando Norris. He sits with 56 points. Valtteri Bottas has 47, 44 for Sergio Perez. Then Charles Leclerc has 40. Carlos Sainz 38, 24 for Daniel Ricciardo. Pierre Gasly 16 and 12 for Esteban Ocon. Red Bull takes over the Constructors' Cup lead by 1 point over Mercedes, 149 to 148. Then you drop down to McLaren with 80, 78 for Ferrari, all the way down to 19 for Aston Martin. AlphaTauri with 18, Alpine for 17. Antonio Giovinazzi getting that 10th place finish gives Alfa Romeo 1 point. So that means that the two that are still sitting with 0 points on the season each, Haas F1 and Williams with goose eggs.
Two things about this for me. One, it goes to show people Mercedes is human.
Yeah.
They are human.
Mm-hmm.
They're not superhuman.
No. Close.
Secondly, after the podium, after seeing who was on the podium and realized that I just made a 1-2-3 sweep in my Ferrari fantasy team on F1.com.
Touting himself.
Yeah.
We're going to make sure he doesn't strain himself, patting himself on the
There
back.
was F1 put out a tweet. It was real interesting to see. Exactly 10 years ago to the 2011 Monaco Grand Prix was the same identical constructor finish on the podium.
Nice.
In same fashion. Red Bull, Ferrari, McLaren.
There you go.
Same thing. I thought that was crazy.
Pretty cool stuff, actually. I like that. Then we get back here into the United States where the Cup Series rolled out onto the wet surface of Circuit of the Americas. Yes, it was still raining on Sunday. While all the drivers were on the Goodyear wets, rooster tails being caused by the Cup cars at speed caused problems for the drivers being able to see. For example, Kevin Harvick was ousted by Bubba Wallace after Bubba got into him. Couldn't see him. We'll get back to that later. Cole Custer couldn't see Martin Truex Jr., who was slowing down. He ran into the back of the 19 and ended both of their days. And in addition, Cole kind of took a pretty hard hit into the wall.
Yep.
So NASCAR, finally, after those two events, red flagged the race for a little while, brought out the Air Titans for a couple of long straightaways and set them racing again. And for a while, it appeared that despite the rain, they were going to be able to make it to the end. But with just over 10 laps to go, actually about 15, the rain started to pick up. NASCAR didn't like it. They red flagged it again. And after checking the radar, they decided that with no lights at Circuit of the Americas, they needed to call the event. The leader at the time won Chase Elliott.
Oh, Clyde.
I think I called that win. Kyle Larson was credited with second, then Joey Logano in third. Ross Chastain, A.J. Allmendinger, and Chase Briscoe making his first top 10 finish in Cup Series competition. Michael McDowell, Alex Bowman, Tyler Reddick, Kyle Busch all wrap up the top 10. Elliott now being a first-time winner on this season, despite being the defending champion. So now that means 11 of the 16 playoff slots are locked up. Martin Truex Jr. still leads the way there. He's got 3 wins. Alex Bowman has 2. The rest are locked in with single wins, and that starts with William Byron, then Kyle Larson, Joey Logano, Chase Elliott, Ryan Blaney, Brad Keselowski, Kyle Busch, Christopher Bell, and Michael McDowell. The 5 that are in on points, Denny Hamlin, Kevin Harvick, Austin Dillon, Chris Buescher, and Tyler Reddick. And Reddick is fairly comfortably up at this point in time on Matt DiBenedetto for that final playoff slot. He leads by 38 points. Thing about it is,
it ain't over.
It ain't over. Not with the guys that I'm seeing from 17th to 20th.
No.
A lot of stuff could still happen here. A lot of stuff.
Absolutely.
And then we get to the NHRA. Let's see if we can't get this in before we take a break. And only 3 of the Camping World Drag Racing Series divisions were running. Pro Stock Motorcycle took the weekend off. And by the way, they couldn't race on Sunday because of the same rain that was over in Austin, Texas, was affecting Houston as well. So they waited until Monday to finish up the Spring Nationals. Top Fuel, it was Steve Torrence against Doug Kalita. Let me think. Who might win that? Despite the better reaction time, Kalita could not maintain grip, and despite hazing his tires about halfway down the track, Steve Torrence wins again. I know, shocking. It's his 3rd win of the year, 43rd of his Top Fuel career, and because of the fact that he hazed his tires about halfway down the track and had to kind of get out of it, it shows up in a fairly slow, for Top Fuel, 4.001 elapsed time at 260.06 miles per hour. To Funny Car, final saw Robert Hight taking on Ron Capps. Hight was quicker off the light, propelled him to the win. He posted a 3.916 ET, 327.19 miles per hour. That's his first win of 2021, 52nd win of his career. And Pro Stock Cars final round featuring Matt Hartford up against Derek Kramer. Hartford quicker off the light, but had to feather the throttle a bit due to tire shake. That's a different way of putting it. Tire shake.
Yeah. Yep.
Either way, Kramer had bigger problems. He had to actually shut it down, so Hartford does get the win at a relatively pedestrian 7.660 elapsed time at 145.11 miles per hour. There are some cars that can do a quarter mile in less than that.
Yeah.
But either way, Steve Torrence pulling away in the Funny Car standings. He's now 140 points up on Antron Brown. All but over.
Yep.
Sean Langdon, Brittany Force, Doug Kalita are also in the top 5, but each and every one of them, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, are over 200 points back. Bob Tasca still leads Funny Car. He's up 42 points on J.R. Todd, then 77 over John Force. Ron Capps, Robert Hyde each over 100 back. And in Pro Stock Car, Greg Anderson's out front by 84 points over Derek Kramer. Erica Enders, Mason McGahey, and Aaron Stanfield are each over 100 points back. So here's your schedule for this weekend. First race of this weekend was actually last night. Matt's got the details of the North Carolina Education Lottery 200 for the Camping World Truck Series at Charlotte Motor Speedway.
If I can get to the final results of it, make it real quick before we hit the break. Your winner last night was John Hunter Nemechek, making it 4 for 4 with KBM on 1.5 tracks this year.
Yeah, not all of them John Hunter Nemechek,
No.
by the way.
You got Carson Hocevar with his career best 2nd place finish and was running John Hunter Nemechek down at the last lap, but just
If
ran
only
out of
I
time.
had a few more laps.
Yep. You had Ben Rhodes in 3rd, Stuart Freeze in 4th, Todd Gill in 5th, Chandler Smith in 6th, Ty Majeski in a 5th Thor Sport truck in 7th.
It's just mind-boggling to me.
Yeah.
5 Thor Sport trucks.
Yeah. You got Derek Krause 8th, Austin Hill 9th, and Zane Smith rounded out the top 10 last night.
Brett Holmes' race last night had a bit of a problem.
Yeah, lap 49. He was plugging away through the field and had a really sporty-looking truck climbing. Watching the ticker, you could tell he was getting faster of each lap and getting more comfortable. And just, my opinion, just one of those racing deals.
Yeah.
You know, cutting the corner in the left front. It appears. Now, I'm sure I'll talk to him at some point over the weekend, but what it appeared via video, excuse me. Oh, I can't talk.
Great infield, in-finger, whatever.
Infield, in-finger, via, whatever. It looked like he got the left front on the apron just a little bit too much, and it kicked the truck around sideways and crunched the rear of it up pretty good.
Yeah. So, but like you said, it looked like he's really starting to adapt to it.
He's getting there.
He started what? He started 28th.
He started 28th and got up to 14th. I think he was 14th at the time of the accident.
I checked really early on in the race, and like within the first 5 to 10 laps, he was up to 26th, and then up to 24th, and then just kept climbing.
He finished stage 1. I think it was 22nd. And then off pit road, his crew, Austin Dillon's pit crew that he had, gained him, I think, 4 spots on pit road, and then he started picking them off on the track one at a time.
Yep.
Made some really good moves, 3 wide moves last night.
Yep. So keep an eye on him. He's part-time, but hey.
They're
Keep an eye on
climbing.
them. They're climbing. They're getting used to it.
Yep.
All right. So with that being done, let's go ahead and hey, we are late for a break, so we need to take that break. When we come back, we'll give you the schedule for this weekend. It's actually, well, not that involved. So we'll kick off with that and then get into some news. A little bit later on in the show, we got CRN Story Time coming back and plenty of time for commentary, and we'll try and make some predictions about both the Indy 500 and the Coca-Cola 600 later on in the show. We're just underway right here on CRN.
Stay right here for more on the Championship Racing Network.
This report.
I need help. I'm aging quickly. So I won't be able to watch the Coca-Cola 600 tomorrow because I'll be at work. Because I had to trade for Tuesday to get that off.
Gotcha.
So I'll need you to keep me updated because the dang TV that's in the control room doesn't get Fox or NBC. But I will be able to watch the Indy 500, or at least the end of it. I'll get to work at 1 o'clock, so I'll be able to see the end of it.
I can't believe I'm actually saying this. But this 2-car actually don't look half bad with white wheels.
That was difficult for you to say.
Very difficult for me to say.
It kind of matches into the paint
It
scheme.
matches into the paint scheme way better than other wheel schemes that they've ever had.
That's true.
Yes, I'm bashing Penske schemes again.
Well, you're bashing Penske schemes because of the wheels.
Yeah.
Because they like to have the wheels painted instead of black.
Oh boy.
Uh-oh, what?
NBC Sports PR for the first time, our Indycar and NBC production of Indianapolis 500 will include a drone.
All right. We'll see if they're as good at it as Fox is.
Final practice at one point, Dixon was 228.3. Mm-hmm. Second place was 226.2.
Uh-huh. Yeah, we'll be talking about that too.
Yeah, this may be Dixon's to lose.
Oh, gosh, yes.
Action on the Championship Racing Network.
All right, so last night began the racing, and it's all NASCAR and IndyCar this weekend. That's it. Nobody else is racing this weekend. So we mentioned the Camping World Truck Series race from last night. Today, Xfinity Series race going to take Charlotte on. They're going to run the Alsco Uniforms 300. Fox Sports 1 and PRN Radio have the coverage beginning at 1 p.m. Eastern, noon Central Time. That brings us to Sunday. God, I miss Formula One in the morning. IndyCar hits the track next. They are going to run the Indy 500 for the 105th time. NBC and the IndyCar Radio Network have the coverage at an early time. Be prepared, ladies and gentlemen. 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central Time. Early start on the day. Mm-hmm. Final race of the weekend, obviously the Cup Series running the Coca-Cola 600. Charlotte Motor Speedway. It'll be on Fox and PRN Radio, 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central Time. So we'll go from dusk into nighttime. Formula One, Formula E, NHRA, all off this weekend. Weird. Anyway.
Yeah,
all
no
right.
doubt.
So let's take a quick look back. Cup Series and their inaugural visit to Circuit of the Americas. Love the track. Like the fact that NASCAR is willing to go out there and try it. The wet weather thing shows that NASCAR and Goodyear have still a lot to learn about driving in the wet.
They do.
Now,
But
the effort wasn't bad. What they were doing was, it was passable, okay? But at the same point in time, yeah, there's a lot to learn. But when you don't race on the rain a whole heck of a lot, there is a whole lot to learn when you finally do
there
it.
is a ton to learn. One thing I seen happen, I think it was early in the week. Apparently, there was a secret test that took place at Richmond.
Okay.
With wet weather conditions. Because Joey Logano made a quote, and I can't remember where I saw it, to where they ran slicks and they ran treaded tires.
Yeah.
They put flaps on the car to try to disperse moisture.
So you wouldn't have quite so much of a rooster
He said
tail,
it
too.
helped to a degree.
Yeah, but it's not going to be the problem
It's not
solver.
going to be the
that
problem
they're
solver,
looking for,
exactly. But I'm pretty sure, in my opinion, Bob Pockris evaluated it right.
no. Okay.
He said the grade is an incomplete because you really can't judge the scope of the entire event given how the conditions were
True.
and how they had to drive.
Yeah.
All right.
I want to see them go back to COTA, and I would love to see it under dry conditions because I'd like to see the difference between this year and what it would be like with a dry track.
Now, last year, it was the Xfinity race at the Roval. It
Yeah.
was in the monsoon.
Yeah,
Let's call it
I
the
remember
monsoon.
that too.
All right. People got to remember, we did it at the Roval. You got to remember something here. The Roval is over a mile smaller than COTA
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
in a straightaway that's not even close, two straightaways, that's not even close to having the same distance as the Roval.
Yeah.
Okay?
Exactly.
Speeds make a huge difference.
Very much so.
And I've got a little caveat to something I'm going to say here with this
Okay.
Kevin Harvick quote that you got coming up.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll get back to that. Let's go, first of all, with this interesting note. Elliott, as we mentioned, claiming the win. Chase Elliott's win marks win number 268 as an organization for Hendrick Motorsports in Cup Series competition. That ties them with the legendary Petty Enterprises. Petty Motorsports, even if they won, I don't think Petty Motorsports would be considered the same thing.
They would probably count it underneath it,
You think so?
knowing that it's being petty.
Okay.
I would think.
All right. It'll be interesting to see. Hopefully we'll find out. Meanwhile, Joe Gibbs Racing, for those of you that are curious, they are, depending on how you look at it, tie for first. They could be second, but considering there's two teams in a tie for first, I call them third.
Oh, yeah.
So Joe Gibbs Racing is next. They are pretty far back.
They are.
190. So, yeah, almost 80 races behind. Take a while to catch up.
Yeah.
Then there's Kevin Harvick. We mentioned this during the recap. He was wrecked early before NASCAR thought to dry out any part of the track. And he had some choice words for NASCAR after by saying this. And this is a snippet. This isn't the entire quote. He said these words, though. Quote, "It's the most unsafe thing I've done in a race car by a lot. You can't see anything down the straightaways. These cars were not built to run in the rain. It's unbelievable that we're doing what we're doing because we're in race cars that aren't meant to do this."
IMSA, V8 supercars, IndyCar, and Formula One would like to have a word with you, Kevin Harvick.
I mean, did NASCAR sit there and think that, hey, we're going to try and run in the rain at any point in time when they started this way back in, 1948?
No.
Probably not.
I mean, they've been testing this stuff off and on periodically since 1997.
Yeah, I mean, they've been preparing for this. They've been putting windshield wipers on the cars. They've been working with Goodyear to build up rain tires. At some point in time, they realized that, hey, if we're going to run on road courses, there's the possibility that we might be able to get the race in by putting rain tires on the car. Is it perfect? No, not by a long shot.
Oh, no. Not even close.
But I don't think we're in a position where we were, and I'm not going to go back to 1948 because that's when you actually had stock
Right.
cars. You actually had windshield wipers and things like that and treaded tires. Let's go mid-1970s to 1990. About 15-year stretch of 70. I'll go modern era. 72 to about 1990 before they really started thinking, hey, you know what? Maybe we ought to try and figure out a way to maybe race in the rain.
Yep.
You know, we aren't in those days.
No.
We've come a long way. Do we still have steps to take? Absolutely. COTA showed that in spades. But I think we've come a long way since the time when really racing in the rain was never thought of.
Now, in a slower speed, let me classify it that, a slower speed course compared to COTA.
Okay.
All right. You saw last year, yes, it was sketchy at times, but you saw that the Xfinity race at the Roval ran without a hitch.
Mm-hmm.
Slower speed.
And here's the thing. You say it's sketchy. You get out here, and for those of you that are watching online or listening on a radio streaming app that don't know exactly where we are, the flagship radio station for Championship Racing Network is located in East Central Alabama. We look out the window from our studio, we can see Interstate 20.
Yeah.
Okay, we're watching 18-wheelers go by right now as I'm speaking, okay?
Yep.
If we try to do with our tires, and if you look at the cars that are in the parking lot, the pickup trucks, the SUVs, and the cars that are over there, all of them have tread on their tires. But if we try to go during a rainstorm like we saw at Charlotte last year or at COTA last weekend, and we try to do nowhere near the speeds that they were doing at Charlotte or COTA, we're trying to do, I'll say 70, which is the speed limit there. It can get a little sketchy for us.
True.
So it's not like we're talking about NASCAR being sketchy while, oh, yeah, everything's good for us. No, I mean, we hit a small area where there's just a little bit of water sitting.
Right.
Just a little divot, if you want to say, in the asphalt on I-20 or whatever interstate you take. Ladies and gentlemen, there's the potential for hydroplaning. Exactly.
Uh-huh. It's going to happen. All right.
I hydroplaned at 55 miles an hour.
I've
very
hydroplaned at
Right into
several
oncoming
different
traffic.
and it's just like, hey, where'd that come from?
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, wake up.
Sorry.
It was fun.
But
Oh,
this
yeah.
week, this week on Sirius XM NASCAR Radio, on Dave Moody's show, every week he has Justin Marks on and does a segment.
Sure.
I'm pretty sure that this is the best all-time quote I've ever heard from a car owner
Okay. I look forward to this.
that has driven.
Yes, he has.
Quote, and they were talking about COTA. Quote, everybody wants to go wide open.
Well, sure.
They can't see. No one lifts. And then they have a crash, and it's NASCAR's fault.
Yeah. This right here, this
Thank you.
ding, yeah. Kevin Harvick said these words right after. He's still full of emotion after being wrecked out of a
Heat
race.
of the moment.
Yeah, that's it. He said those words in the heat of the moment. If you ask him now, if you ask him this weekend with a week to look back on it, he'd probably temper his words.
Oh, very much so. And here's why I engaged Justin Marks and Dave Moody.
Okay.
They engaged me.
Oh, nice.
I quoted back on it. I said, this is why I'm a big fan of his. He's open, he's straightforward, and he's flat out truthful.
Sure.
Dave fires back. He says he tells the truth as he believes it to be every single week.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic insight and openness, and which is all I can ask for of any guest on my show.
110%.
I said, I could not agree with you more, Dave. He speaks from both sides of the spectrum with the helmet on and behind the owner's desk, which makes him so good.
Yeah.
And Justin Marks replied back and said, I appreciate those words.
There you go. Keep up the good work. That's all we can say.
Yep.
Let's get back to Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott needs a new spotter. His now former one, Eddie DeHunt, has been suspended indefinitely by NASCAR and, as it turns out, by Hendrick Motorsports. Following an arrest earlier this week in Catawba County, North Carolina, DeHunt, whose full name is Edward James DeHunt, is aged 62. We found out all this because he was officially charged with battery on an unborn child and assault on a female who, as it turns out, is pregnant. He's got 2 court dates coming next month. NASCAR suspended DeHunt not only for the arrest, which is bad enough, but for failing to notify them of the arrest within 72 hours of it happening, which is, according to the NASCAR rulebook, a no-no.
Yeah.
DeHunt has been Elliott's spotter since the now 25-year-old's defending Cup champion joined the series back in, 3 years ago? 3 or 4?
2016.
Wow, longer than I thought.
Yeah.
Was spotting for Elliott just last weekend at Circuit of the Americas, but now for tomorrow's Coca-Cola 600, they're going to have to find a new one. I don't know who it is because I didn't find out. I looked all over the place, and I couldn't find an announcement of who it was going to be. So
It is.
take a look and find out. John?
It's not coming from Jim, is it?
It is not.
Okay.
No, this is...
So we can trust what Matt's about to say.
No,
yeah.
no. It's actually his cousin, Trey Poole.
Okay.
He spotted for him before.
Okay. There you go. All-Star fan vote. All-Star race coming up in Texas. CRN story time. Foreshadowing. Early returns for the All-Star fan vote in Texas have 5 racers above the rest by a pretty good margin, according to NASCAR. NASCAR didn't give any vote totals. They didn't even say who was leading among them. They just noted that the 5 biggest vote getters were in alphabetical order. Chase Briscoe, Matt DiBenedetto, Eric Jones, Daniel Suarez, and Bubba Wallace.
I could probably guess who it probably is. but I'm
Up
going
goes
to
fine.
reserve my judgment.
Mm-hmm.
It's blatantly obvious who won. I
would
can
say-
tell you who 2 is.
I was about to say it's between 2 drivers for me.
Yeah. It's easily.
Yeah. No disrespect to the other 3.
No, and it's no disrespect, but
I mean, it's a fan vote. This is the same thing as like going to the prom and having the king and queen of the prom. That's a
Okay.
popularity contest.
all right. But here's the question, though, and I'm going to throw this out there to you. With these Wednesday night Pro Invitational iRacing Series or events,
Sure.
okay, they've had a fan vote as well.
Mm.
Pretty good drivers that are pretty good on iRacing as well.
Sure.
NASCAR has not one single time released how the vote tally goes.
No.
And every single time, Jesse Iwuji gets in.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
How?
Devoted followings.
How?
Devoted followings.
Better.
People that will vote to get their voice heard.
Better question. Who?
Well, appropriate for Jesse Iwuji as he's what was he, Lieutenant Colonel?
In the U.S. Navy.
I got the ranking right?
I
Lieutenant?
think so.
I think so. Very appropriate for this weekend. We're going to get back to that coming
True.
up a little bit later on as well. But yeah, I mean, this it is. It's all those things that we used to vote for in high school, the Mr. and Mrs. Personality, the most popular students, blah 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 blah. That is all. It's all a popularity contest. I hate to tell you this, but in looking back at my yearbook from the year 1986, the person who was listed as most talented has disappeared off the face of the earth. I don't know where that man is. So, sorry. There are other people who had a heck of a lot more talent, apparently, than he did.
Yeah.
Voting, by the way, still open. Goes through noon Eastern on July 11th. That is the night before the All-Star race. Okay? So if you would like to get your opinion heard, felt, understood, whatever, you can do that. And all you got to do is go on to NASCAR.com/fan vote, and you'll be able to put in your own 2 cents and see if you can't, change some things up if you don't like what we think is probably going on. How's that? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
What we think is probably going on. Do we have it? Like I said, we don't have the fan vote numbers. NASCAR's keeping that to themselves. Things that you don't have to keep to yourself, things that will actually be fairly obvious to you, are things that you probably will want to get fixed, because we're talking about your house in this particular situation. We're talking about cracks in the brick, cracks in the basement walls, cracks in the sheetrock on the inside of the house, windows or doors sticking, or maybe uneven floors. Maybe you got some damp floors in your basement or crawl space, or maybe you got standing water there. These are all indications that you might have a foundation problem on your house. Is it a guarantee? No, it's not. Could be just something that weird in the way that the environment's going. But we want to make sure, and you want to make sure, because again, this is a humongous investment, and it's where you and your family live, and you want to be there for a long time. So you want to make sure that no foundation problems are there, because if you left it untreated, you didn't get it checked, and it is a foundation problem later on down the line, we're talking tens of thousands of dollars in damage that you need to get repaired. Whereas you could have headed it off at the pass, to borrow an old cliche, now, and it could cost you tens of thousands of dollars less. So find out. Don't take chances with your family home. Get this figured out. Find out if you got a problem. It's very easy to do. Call our friend Michael Hart at Ox Foundation Solutions. Michael Hart can come out and he can give you a no-cost, no-obligation written foundation assessment. Give him a call, 205-362-6419, or just send him an email this morning or sometime today after the show. You can do it right now. I mean, you can listen and type at the same time. It's not like walking and chewing gum. Some people can, some people can't. Mike at Ox Foundations, plural, Mike at oxfoundations.com. He'll come out, set up a time with you, again, give you a no-cost, no-obligation written foundation assessment. He'll tell you straight up if nothing's wrong, and you can put that piece of paper away and have peace of mind. Or he will detail exactly what's wrong and what it's going to take to fix it and give you an estimate on the price of getting it fixed. And then you use Ox Foundation Solutions to go ahead and fix the problem. you get a little bonus. You mentioned the promo code WEST, W-E-S-T. You get 15% off of that repair. Pretty cool stuff. So make sure you contact him. Find out for certain if you got any question whatsoever. 205-362-6419 or mike@oxfoundations.com. And when you do, mention you heard about it right here on the Championship Racing Network.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network.
Woohoo! Yeah!
Make sure I'm reading this right.
Yeah.
41 minutes ago, Sam Hunt Racing.
Okay, the other SHR.
SHR, yeah. Sam Hunt Racing announces that Grant Enfinger will replace Brandon Godovic in the Alsco Uniforms 300 at Charlotte Motor Speedway on Saturday, May 29th. Following practice, Godovic reported that he did not feel comfortable piloting the number 26 Toyota Supra following a 6-year hiatus in his career on mile-and-a-half tracks. The Supra will need to qualify for the 200-lap event based on speed. Godovic felt for the best of the team that he needed to be replaced for the event. That is the first time in history that I know of that somebody's got out of a car for being scared. That's being scared.
Yeah, that's exactly what that is. That's nothing more than that.
So,
Wow.
based off of the speed chart,
See, Brandon Godovic is about done with his career, though.
based off the speed chart, yeah, I would say so. 42nd, BJ McLeod in the number 90 car, 169.667. Godovic, 43rd, 160.199.
Wow. I don't know what freaked him out, but something freaked him out.
Riley Herbst at the top of the board, 178.4.
Riley needs a run. Riley needs that run. We'll see whether he can complete it.
That's.
We got plenty to talk about coming up.
Oh yeah, I'm about to chime in on this one.
Oh yeah.
This is.
Fuel only, fuel only. Go, go, go. We're back to the Championship Racing Network.
Yeah, we are. One more note on Cup Series news here. Bubba Wallace got himself a new sponsor partner in Logitech G. It's a sub-brand of Logitech, which is a leader in gaming gear and technology. Logitech G is going to work with Wallace, having him promote their line of gaming equipment, mainly their racing gear. You'll see it a lot on those iRacing Pro Series Invitational things now. And he'll check out some new gaming products over the course of time. And in return, Logitech G is being added to Wallace's uniform as a sponsor and partner. It's going to be on his sleeve, as it turns out. Not the car, yet. Bet you that'll be worked on. Just saying.
Yeah.
Then we move to the Xfinity Series. Two things that we need to deal with. One is a very happy note. Let's go ahead and deal with that first. Congratulations going out to Junior Motorsports driver Justin Allgaier and his wife Ashley. They celebrated the birth of their daughter on Wednesday. They named her Willow Lee Allgaier. Inventive name. Justin posted on social media, quote, "It's a girl. Ashley Allgaier and I have been blessed to welcome our tiniest gator," I'll get back to that, "into the world. Thank you for all the prayers and comments on social media through Ashley's pregnancy. We're so thankful, and you will all never know how much we appreciate it." This is the Allgaier's second daughter. Their first, Harper, is old enough to partake in some helmet designing for her father. She's done that from time to time.
Yeah.
And her nickname is Lil Gator to mom and dad. That kind of helped explain some of the tiniest gator comment in the post. So hopefully you somewhat understand it.
The neat thing to watch about that whole thing with them through social media is they went the entire time and did not do a gender reveal.
No.
They did not know until she was born.
Yeah. It's rare in this day and age.
Very, very rare.
All right, and then from very good news to very weird news, and we've heard stories over the course of time in the history of NASCAR, specifically, it was kind of played up, if you want to say it, in the movie Talladega Nights, where to get Ricky Bobby into the car, the driver of the car beforehand just decided to get out of the car and park it. On a more serious note, we've heard in the history where some drivers say that they heard voices in their head, "Get out of the car."
Especially at that little facility right off exit 168 right down the road from us here.
Yeah. They hear a voice inside their head, "Get out of the car." So they drove it down pit road and got out of the car.
Mm-hmm.
This story, though, kind of ramps that whole thing up. And I think, if I'm guessing, we have about seen the end of a career of one young driver.
If you're watching on camera, I'm having to wipe my eyes for this one because this one's got me puzzled.
Okay.
It was, now 45 minutes ago, released from Charlotte Motor Speedway from Sam Hunt Racing in the Xfinity Series.
The other SHR.
Yep. Sam Hunt Racing announces that Grant Enfinger will replace Brandon Godovic in today's Alsco Uniforms 300. Following practice, Godovic reported that he did not feel comfortable piloting the number 26 Toyota Supra following a 6-year hiatus in his career on mile-and-a-half tracks. SHR will need to qualify into the 200-lap event based on speed. Godovic felt that for the best of the team that he be replaced for the event. Sam Hunt Racing continues to have full confidence in Godovic, and the team looks forward to having him back behind the wheel at Texas Motor Speedway in 2 weeks.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Texas is a lot like Charlotte.
Texas is pretty much identical to Charlotte.
Okay. Brandon Godovic, for those of you that don't know, is a Virginia native. He is 29 years old.
Mm-hmm.
At this point in time, he is a full-time in the North America Series, competing in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo division for Precision Performance Motorsports. He's part-time for Sam Hunt Racing in the number 26. Mm-hmm. What was his speed that said, I'm not comfortable? And where is he on the speed chart?
The speed from yesterday's practice was as follows. Your lead car in the whole practice was Riley Herbst at a 178.4.
178.4, okay.
178.4. BJ McLeod was in 42nd. And the number 90 DGM car at 168.1.
So a little more than 10 miles per
hour. A little more than
slower.
10. That's not uncommon.
No. The spread between first and last, basically, in the Xfinity Series, that's fairly normal.
43rd, Brandon Godovic.
Mm-hmm.
160. 160.
Another 8 miles per hour slower than the previous slower guy, and 18 miles per hour slower than the lead.
Yeah.
That's more unusual.
I'm sorry, but as well as that team and that car has performed this entire year, that's no excuse.
No, there's something spooked him. Something somewhere spooked Brandon Godovic.
Let's see here. I'm trying to look for something here real quick.
Okay.
Here we go. Here we go.
All right. By the way, Grant Enfinger's
All right.
not a bad choice.
Okay. All right.
Grant Enfinger's a pretty good choice for a sub.
Here's my problem.
Just one?
His career on mile-and-a-halves. 6-year hiatus. His starts this year: Daytona, Martinsville, Darlington.
Daytona, real high speed, really packed in.
Yeah.
Martinsville, not as fast, but very packed in.
Yeah.
Darlington, surprisingly fast, and the track will jump up and bite you.
Yeah. What it sounds like to me, if I'm reading in between the lines, he got kicked out for being too slow.
That's probably what it is. But again, you got to stop and think about this. That's not the car's fault.
No.
You mentioned it. We've seen this car in action. It is a better than average car.
That is basic. For people that don't know, the way Sam Hunt Racing is in Toyota's camp, they're basically the 2311 version of the Xfinity series.
Yeah, exactly.
They got Gibbs engines. They get Gibbs cars.
Yeah.
Simply put.
These are better than average cars.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Something spooked Brandon. Don't know what. Don't know where. Don't know how. Don't know any of the details. But something spooked him because that car's better than 160 for versus the leader's 168.
When you
Or
have
78, I'm sorry.
when you have somebody like Santino Ferrucci that has never sat in a stock car and can take it to top 15 finishes at Homestead,
Yeah.
Atlanta, and Vegas, yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much.
By the way, to me, this is setting a table because story came out earlier on this week about Santino Ferrucci. You know, he's an open-wheel driver by trade, but he's decided that he wants to take a more of a regular crack. He wants to enter about 20 to 25 NASCAR races, mostly in the Xfinity Series this year.
Yeah.
Brandon Godovic pulling himself out of Sam Hunt Racing would, for me, if I'm an executive at Sam Hunt Racing, I'm thinking maybe I'm going to turn to Santino Ferrucci a heck of a lot more. And
I would turn to Santino Ferrucci a little bit quicker than Pocono next month.
Yeah, probably so.
Like
I would
next
probably
week.
like at Texas.
Yeah, 2 weeks. Excuse me.
You know, I just this is paving the way for Santino Ferrucci to potentially become full time for Sam Hunt Racing.
Clear cut. If you ask me,
I mean, to me,
clear-cut.
this is the open door. The question is whether they step through it.
And he probably will.
Probably.
And I would pat him on the back for saying going for it because
Absolutely.
he's done quite well.
Yeah.
Having zero stock car experience.
Agreed wholeheartedly. To the Camping World Truck Series we turn, and we have noted in different forms of racing this year when it comes to Canada that racing there is pretty much all but ruled out. Indycar had to cancel the Streets of Toronto Grand Prix, said that they would like to try to reschedule it for later this year. That could happen. Formula One has said pretty much the same thing. They hold a glimmer of hope they might get the Canadian Grand Prix in before the end of the year, but I keep looking at their schedule and going, where? NASCAR, however, has pretty much said, oh, you don't want us to come? Bye.
Yeah.
All this means effectively is that the Camping World Truck Series race scheduled for Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, which was slated to be the first race of the Truck Series playoffs, has been not canceled, but moved. It's going to the legendary Darlington Raceway, where it will be part of a Sunday day-night doubleheader with the Cup Series on Sunday, September the 5th. And NASCAR has said zero about trying to reschedule at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. In other words, NASCAR said, oh, you don't want us to run? Okay, we won't. We might see you next year.
Yeah, Canada is kind of hurting themselves with motorsports. That brings in revenue and profit to this whole country.
Yeah.
And whatever province they're respectively running in. They kind of shot themselves in the foot last 2 years.
You ever heard, you've heard the phrase, you're digging your own hole, grave,
your own
whatever you
grave,
want to talk about it? Canada's not doing it with a shovel. They're doing it with a bulldozer.
I know, eh?
They're doing it with a Liebherr 8000 mining excavator that would dig up, has a bucket the size of that bridge I'm looking at on I-20 right
I was
there.
about to say, for those of you that
In
want to
one
know,
swipe.
look that up online.
In one swipe.
Yeah, I mean,
They're digging themselves that fast. Look at the money they've lost with F1 alone.
And then you look at IndyCar and NASCAR.
Yeah.
Good luck, Canada. Hope you're doing.
IndyCar in Toronto. F1 in Montreal. Canadian Tire is right outside of Montreal, if I'm not mistaken.
I was thinking Ottawa. I don't know why I was thinking Ottawa. I could be wrong on that. He's going to look it up. Meanwhile, on to better things. GMS Racing has been self-sponsoring Sheldon Creed in the number 2 Chevy Silverado to this point in 2021 for the most part. Well, they've announced a sponsor, LiftKitsForLess.com. They're going to be on the hood the remainder of the season. Debuted actually last night in the truck race that we detailed in the recap.
Bowmanville, Ontario.
Ontario.
Yep.
Okay.
It started with an O.
Yeah, there you go. Over at Jordan Anderson Racing last night, they had a kid by the name of Keith McGee. I say kid. I use that term very carefully. I'm 52. There's a lot of people that are kids to me. Anyway, they had a guy by the name of Keith McGee drive their car, the number 3 Chevy Silverado, with sponsorship from Barstool Sports. Thing about McGee is this. McGee hails from Eagle River, Alaska. Not too many NASCAR drivers come from Alaska.
Nope.
So that's one unusual thing. There's actually 3 in this. Second unusual thing, he's 40 years old. 40 years old, let's face it, is a little on the aged side for a rookie in NASCAR.
So you're saying there's a chance?
Yeah. Well, for you. 3, he's a veteran. Kind of appropriate for this Memorial Day weekend. McGee drove at Richmond earlier this year, but this weekend almost didn't happen. McGee said he was set to drive this weekend when on Monday his sponsor backed out. So the Air Force veteran, instead of panicking, got to work, put some feelers out there on social media, and David Portnoy from Barstool Sports contacted him. They made a deal very quickly, so he got to race last night. I did not notice where he finished. It'll be interesting to see if we can find that out.
Deep.
Yeah, well, I'm sure, but sorry, Jordan Anderson Racing. I think it has a lot to do with the vehicle and a relatively inexperienced driver. For those of you that want to know, he has a background in the ARCA Menards West Series division. He raced part-time there in 2018 and 2019. No word on whether he's trying to make it full-time. Again, at 40, I don't know whether that's going to happen.
Yeah, it's going to be touch and go for sure.
Yeah, he'll get races here from time to time.
Keith McGee was 29th.
29th, okay. He'll get races from time to time, pending on his sponsorship.
11 laps down.
How? The man who's chairman and CEO of the company that is the title sponsor of the Truck Series, Camping World's own Marcus Lemonis, has been named the first quarter National Motorsports Press Association Pocono Spirit Award winner, announced on Tuesday. Lemonis garnered the award when he not only committed as the title sponsor of the series, but added offers of sponsoring drivers who otherwise didn't have sponsorship at Las Vegas. I want to say about a third of the field at Las Vegas had Camping World Truck Series logos on their trucks.
Quite a bit.
So
right.
Since then, he's actually continued that effort to some extent since that time, and even benefited one Brett Holmes Racing a couple of weeks ago.
Yep.
Then there's this. I actually kind of find this pretty cool because as of yesterday, we still haven't seen these cars in action in anger. They've only been out on the track in practice form. But yet, the
Easy for you to say.
Thank you, Daffy Duck.
Come on, West.
The Superstar Racing Experience, or SRX, already has a video game, and it came out officially for purchase yesterday. It's called SRX The Game. It's available for Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and PC. You'll get to compete on the 6 tracks that the series is going to race on this year against the drivers that are slated to compete this first season, but there is a career mode, which means you'll have to earn it. In career mode, you work your way up through the ranks. You start off in the 305 wingless sprints, then you move up to stadium trucks, and then up to finally dirt late models before you'd even think about getting the chance to get into the SRX series. In the process of working your way up through the crowd, you can drive on more than 50 known dirt tracks around the country, although I did not have a list of some of those tracks. Sorry. You can build up your own team. You can hire employees and drivers. You can upgrade your cars as you go up through the ranks, and you can even make your own paint schemes until you get to SRX, because SRX, remember, is kind of like the IROC series. They're all specially prepared by one group of people to be as identical as possible. There's an online option, a multiplayer option as well, and the game in whatever form, Xbox, PlayStation, or PC, will set you back $39.99. That's actually not bad considering the price of some video games nowadays.
Nope.
Yeah,
not at all.
$40 is reasonable.
Yeah, $40 is actually quite reasonable. And again, this is two weeks, if I remember correctly, because isn't it June 12th that their first race is?
June 12th at Stafford.
So 2 weeks from now, you'll finally see them in action, but you can play the video game first.
Yeah.
I got to admit, that's a stroke of genius on the part of Tony Stewart and Ray Evernham.
Oh, it's huge.
You looking for the list?
That's what I'm trying to look for.
All right, we'll take this break. We'll come back, see if we can find a list of at least some of the tracks that are the 50 that are included in SRX the game, and then we'll turn our attention to the National Hot Rod Association when we come back. Hour 1 in the books, Hour 2 next, right here on CRN.
Don't touch that dial. The Championship Racing Network will be right back.
WTDR-FM, Talladega, Oxford, Anniston, and streaming live 24/7 at WTDRThunder.com. Alabama's #1 country, Thunder 92.7.
As report a service of the Area Agency on Aging, many older Alabamians have to choose between buying food, medicine, or other necessities. If you or someone knows
Couldn't find the mouse.
Did you know
It
that?
happens.
Did you know that Best Buy's back sponsoring a car again?
Who?
Ryan Vargas.
Who?
Vargas.
Brian. Oh, Brian Vargas. Okay, cool.
They'll explain all about Snap to you. It's a food stamp program where senior
Back
citizens
with the Parlay.
It doesn't have, I can't find the list other than outside of the licensed tracks on there.
So just 6?
6 licensed tracks, yeah.
It would be fascinating to find out. Have we shared the YouTube video of the Facebook page for the show?
Share it on my personal page.
No, I did too, but I think I thought to do it to I think I thought to do it to the actual page, sorry. Jesus!
I'm not sure, to be honest with you. Other than the pin post I put up.
The what? I'm sorry?
Other than the pinned post I put up like a couple weeks ago.
Talking about subscribing and all that?
Yeah.
And if the graphics are accurate to what the real life car is going to be, there will be no windows on
More racing action on the Championship Racing Network.
Hey, welcome back into the show. We're into hour number 2. Looked through the course of the break. If you're just now joining us, you're joining us in hour number 2. Hour number 1 already happened. Where you been?
Yeah.
But we were talking about SRX, Superstar Racing Experience, the Ray Evernham and Tony Stewart begun quasi-IROC series, IROC-like series,
Yep.
who already has their video game out 2 weeks before they're actually going to race on track. We tried to look because there's a career mode in there where you kind of work your way up to the Superstar Racing Experience through at least three divisions.
Yeah.
And they claim to have about 50 different dirt tracks around the country. We look for a list. We can't find one. So we don't know what some of the tracks are. But if I
Yeah,
were
it's
to,
probably going to be like
if I were to guess, I would think that
tracks probably named like Highland Hills or
Eldora.
Deep South or whatever.
See,
There is actually a Deep South Speedway.
I'm actually kind of wondering if one of Tony Stewart's admitted favorite tracks, Talladega Short Track, might show up.
That would
Well,
be
you
interesting.
you see, Mr. West, I'll be able to figure that out really quick when I do hit my hands on it because I'll be able to tell what the contour of the banking and the straightaway. I'll be able to figure that out really, really quick.
Sure, I understand.
And for those of you who may not know, our driver, Matt,
Yes, he is our resident driver on the show.
that's where he races.
Yes, that's his home track.
That's the flagship track.
Quite familiar. He's
Quite
rather
familiar with that place.
Yeah. So, yeah, pretty cool stuff. I'll probably, I don't have a PlayStation 4, so I probably won't look for it anytime too soon, but at some point in time,
Yeah.
I might just. All right, let's turn our attention to the NHRA, National Hot Rod Association here. Funny car veteran Tim Wilkerson set to try something new. He just turned around and bought, I wish I could, wish I had the money to just turn around and do something like this. He just turned around and bought himself a Top Fuel dragster. Said he hopes to be able to find a good driver to pilot it and attract some sponsors, and he plans on at least having a hand in tuning it. The car recently tested with Keith Mert driving the day after the recent four-wide nationals in Charlotte. Mert's in the process of getting his Top Fuel license. Said he and Wilkerson plan to enter the racer at the U.S. Nationals in Indy and maybe one more race this coming season. They said they're eyeing St. Louis. This, by the way, marks Mert's first time running in Top Fuel since 2013. Wilkerson said he's happy in Funny Car, has no plans to drive the Top Fuel dragster himself, but said he will assist Richard Hartman in tuning it for his driver, who he hopes will be Mert. With that being said, Wilkerson has added that his own son, Daniel, has been making a heck of a lot of noise since the Top Fuel dragster showed up in the Wilkerson shop, and Daniel wants a shot to drive it. I don't think anybody's surprised by the fact that the family tradition will continue with the Wilkersons.
Negative. I'm not surprised at all.
And I want to go back to John Force. He won just a few weeks ago. And in looking at all forms of pro motorsports, Only the NHRA's funny car all-time wins leader can lay claim to something very unique. He can claim winning at least one event in one specific series in a top-level pro motorsports division in 5 different decades. Think about that for a second. John Force came into funny car action in the 1980s, racked up a kind of pedestrian 5 wins when you compare it to 1990s when he got 76. He added 45 more in the 2000s, 25 more in the 2010s, and his win in the 2020s, 1 so far. How long can he go? He's 72. I mean, obviously as long as he wants to, but realistically, how long can he go?
Being John Force, I would not surprised to see him pull a Red Farmer.
Go into the 2030s?
2021.
72, so he'd be 80, 81 about the time we hit 2030.
I could, as much energy and enthusiasm and how nose deep he is into his team and to the sport, I could see him going another. I could see him going to 2027 or 28.
Okay. So let's ask this question realistically. Who retires first? John Force or Tom Brady?
Ooh.
Honestly, I believe that's an easy one.
Okay.
Brady.
You think so?
Yep.
You might be right. I mean, Brady's what, 43, 44?
42, 43.
If
Somewhere in
you,
that range.
not saying that NHRA doesn't take a toll on your body,
Mm-hmm.
but if you look at what the normal athlete, pro football player goes through,
Right.
yeah, his knees.
the fact
his
that
knees
he's-
are
Oh,
getting
yeah.
ready to go.
Yeah.
The fact that Tom Brady has lasted as long as he has
Is a miracle
is
in
defying
itself.
odds, yeah.
True.
You know, but let's face it, again, when we're talking about the current days of racing where, you know, kids are getting into these divisions at 18, 19, and 20 years old, 72, John Force's age, that's an anomaly in and of itself.
Well, how long did Warren Johnson race till? Well into the 70s.
I was about to say 70, I want to say 76 is the number that stands out in my head.
I say he's got at least another 8 years.
Okay. We'll find out.
Everything else.
I'm going to
It'll be
say
fun to watch.
I'll go ahead and
Barring everything else.
throw my wager on the table. Tom Brady retires 2 years at least before John Force does.
Ding ding.
2 years.
I like that, actually. That's probably pretty close. I mean, Tom has always said he wants to go until 45. There are all these jokes about him, you know, rolling around with a Santa Claus beard on and still winning championships. But, you know, realistically, I think 45 is a good age, especially as a quarterback who's got the track record that he does and how long he started, considering he began starting games back in the 2001 season. You know, and I understand that there are G-forces that are involved, and obviously, you know, crashes can, you know, cause things to happen in especially in funny car action where, you know, maybe he'd be forced out of the car. But all things being equal, yeah, I kind of get the funny feeling Tom Brady might step out before John Force does.
Warren Johnson called it a career in 2013.
At the age of?
70.
Oh. Why did I have 76 in my head?
He's 77 now.
Oh, okay. I don't know. Anyway, we'll see. John Force just keeps on ticking. To IndyCar. Scott Dixon is the defending champion of the IndyCar series, and he comes into this weekend as the odds-on betting favorite to win the famed Indy 500. And he didn't exactly hurt those prospects when he topped the final practice session on speed yesterday. Not only has he got the pole position, which he claimed last Sunday with an average over 4 laps of 231.685 miles per hour, not bad for a rectangle-shaped 2.5-mile track. Yesterday, after it was delayed by rain for about 2.5 hours, and then it was shortened because of more rain later on, he topped the speed charts at 228.323 miles per hour. And you say, okay, well, what's the comparison? I didn't have it immediately, but he does.
He was over 2 miles an hour quicker than his second place car.
And the second place car was driven by Colton Herta, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Not exactly a lump in the road.
No.
Colton Hurd is a pretty talented kid.
Let's get I'm gonna get complete verification on that.
Go for it, John. You had something?
I have nothing.
You look like you had something prepared. I didn't know. Like you had something to say. Anyway, when the 105th running of the famed Indy 500 gets rolling tomorrow, there will be limited capacity, but the limited capacity is still a sellout. After running last year with no fans in the stands, health officials in Indiana worked with track officials and the series and as a whole and determined that they would allow about 40% of the total capacity in the grandstands to witness the event this year. That meant about 135,000 people would be allowed in. Those 135,000 tickets sold very quickly and will make the race to this point in 2021 the largest attended sporting event in the world. Not just in the United States of America. This will easily best the boxing match between Canelo Alvarez and Billy Joe Saunders that was held earlier this month in Arlington, Texas. The current record holder in the United States. Some 73,000 people were in attendance there. Around the world, the current record, until Sunday, 78,000 for a cricket match held in Melbourne, Australia. All those that are in attendance in Indy will be seated in the grandstands or in the suites or in the pagoda area. The midway is going to be closed. In other words, you can't just walk around on your own. You will be put in your seats, and hopefully you will be somewhat socially distanced, according to Indiana officials.
Put in your place.
Yeah. 135,000 people. You think all of them are just going to sit there and not mingle around?
Here we go. Here we go.
All right. So, 228.323 for Scott Dixon, topping the speed charts in the final practice before the Indy 500 compared to?
Simon Pagenaud was second.
Okay.
At 227.1.
So, a little more than a mile per hour slower.
Yep. Newgarden, Daly, Andretti, Power, McLaughlin, Kanan, Sato, and Karam was the top 10, ranging from 228.3 to 225.5. Top 10.
Here's the thing that kind of gets me. And I'm sorry, but this is a dig on seven-time champion Jimmy Johnson in the Cup Series, who's now trying his hand at IndyCar. Tony Kanaan's where on the speed chart?
Tony Kanaan is in P8.
In the car that Jimmy Johnson normally drives. And I understand this is an oval track versus a road or a street course, which is what Jimmy Johnson's only going to run, is road and street courses.
Sure.
But we have seen really not much of Jimmy Johnson. Certainly nowhere in the top 10 on speed charts in any kind of practice session or in qualifying in the 48 to this point this year. But Tony Kanaan gets in there in the Indy 500 and puts that thing in the top 10 just like that.
Yeah. Then you got...
I understand there's a learning curve.
Oh, yeah.
But how quick did we see Kurt Busch adapt to it?
Quick.
How quick did we see some of these other Robbie Gordon? And I understand Robbie Gordon had some open wheel experience prior to that. Obviously, Tony Stewart went from IndyCar to NASCAR.
Quick.
You know, but you got the John Andretti's, the Tony Stewarts, the Robbie Gordons, the Kurt Busches, who all adapted to this thing quick. I mean, Kurt Busch won Rookie of the Year in his one and only Indy 500 when he pulled the double in 2014?
That is correct. 2014.
And if I remember, finished 6th.
For crying out loud.
I mean, there's a learning curve, and then there's a learning curve.
He does that very well, by the way.
Thank you.
Johnson.
Oh, yes.
Cries.
Out loud. But for crying out loud in a hypothetical sense, Cody Ware passed his rookie orientation test at Indianapolis. Cody Ware.
He didn't get a sponsorship for a drive, but he passed his rookie orientation test.
If Cody Ware can pass that, Jimmy Johnson should be able to pass it with flying colors times 50.
You'd think. I mean, of all of the tracks that IndyCar runs on, he's familiar with 2, but because he has limited himself to road and street course races, he's not going to get the chance to drive at either of them. And we're talking Indianapolis this weekend. And oh, by the way, Texas Motor Speedway.
A few weeks ago.
He could have run at both. He's very familiar with both. He's won at both in NASCAR competition.
Yeah. He has.
I don't know. I'm at a lack of ability to explain this.
Yeah.
But hey, Tony Kanaan, go for it, man. Go for it. It'd be a great story if he won. I don't think he will, but it'd be a great story if he did.
It'd be fantastic.
I mean, considering if IndyCar held a most popular driver contest like NASCAR does.
Oh, it would.
Tony Kanaan would walk away with it.
He would rival the years that Bill Elliott and Dale Earnhardt Jr. combined.
Yeah. I mean, somehow Tony Kanaan has just grabbed the attention of the IndyCar fan and has been, I mean, when he did win the Indy 500, I think that was 2011.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought that place was going to shake to the ground with the fans cheering that win.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think he needs to have a win to be a good story.
Oh, the
I
fact
think
that he's
all he
in.
needs to do is finish top 10.
Oh, gosh, he finished
is
top 5.
done.
Yeah. He finishes top 5, which in this car is very realistic because this is a good car.
Oh, yeah.
This is a real good car that Jimmy Johnson has not been achieving in at all.
Look at his teammate that's over a mile an hour faster than the second place car.
Exactly. I mean, we're talking very, very good equipment. Tony Kanaan knows how to drive this thing. And,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Top 5 is easily attainable and potentially podium finish. And again, things kind of work out just right. I wouldn't be terribly shocked to see Tony Kanaan in victory lane at all.
Agreed.
At all.
Agreed.
Celebrity chosen to wave the green flag to start this race officially is an Emmy-nominated actor by the name of Milo Ventimiglia. You might know him as the star of the acclaimed NBC drama This Is Us. He also starred in the other NBC show Heroes. Been nominated for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Drama 3 times, has won a Critics' Choice Award for Best Actor in a Drama. And he has a tentative connection to racing. In the 2019 film The Art of Racing in the Rain, he played a race car driver as seen through the eyes of the family dog. The dog apparently is evaluating his own life through the lessons that is learned by his owner, again played by Milo Ventimiglia. I've never seen the movie. I heard it was rather critically acclaimed, but I've never seen it.
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't either.
So there you go.
So,
I remember him from Heroes.
yeah.
This Is Us is a little too drama for me.
Hero, who did he play in Heroes?
He played the younger brother of Adrian Pazdar's character in the political guy, Adrian Pazdar.
Okay.
Heroes was a while ago. I get it. Celebration in Victory Lane. I didn't put this in the rundown, but I came across this yesterday, and I just thought, you know what? I gotta mention this.
Yeah.
Celebration in Victory Lane at Indy involves not dumping champagne or pouring champagne over everybody like Formula One does, or grabbing whatever drink that happens to sponsor you and waving it all over you and the pit crew.
Yeah.
It involves grabbing, I think it's a quart of milk, and drinking some and then pouring it over your head.
Yeah.
They came out with a list. Everybody of the 33 starters is asked, if you win, what kind of milk do you want?
Yeah. I've seen this before.
Everybody chose either full-on vitamin D milk or 2%. There is no skim milk in the entire list for the first time in like at least half a decade, maybe longer. So it brought me to this question.
Yeah.
This is a question that is apropos of nothing. It doesn't mean anything. It's just me throwing stuff up against the wall to see if it sticks. Which, if you pour milk all over yourself and you stand in the sun doing a post-race celebration, you're going to be sticky. But that being said,
And smelly.
could you elect to have chocolate milk
Get out
as
of
your
my
victory
head.
lane celebration?
That's exactly what I was going to suggest.
I would be the first person that breaks tradition. I would pick some Nesquik strawberry milk or something.
Yeah, again, any flavor. Doesn't have to be chocolate.
What
Could be
fourth is
strawberry,
this
could be
pink
banana,
milk?
could be whatever.
What fourth is this pink milk you bring and drink out of our illustrious quart jug? Strawberry milk. Cheers.
Yeah. Congratulations to Matt Nicholson. He's won, and he's drinking Pepto-Bismol?
Nope. Strawberry milk.
There you go.
Nesquik. Call me.
I need an answer to that.
I don't know.
Because I'll be real honest with you. I would want to be that person who had something just a little bit different.
Yeah.
Speaking of being different, if your house is changing up, you want to make sure that it is not falling apart on you, and that means you probably need to double check and make sure that your foundation is in solid shape. Don't take chances with the family home. Again, you're talking about one of, if not the most expensive ventures you're ever going to have in your entire life. So don't take chances with it. You want to make sure it's in good shape. You want to make sure it's in good shape for you, for a long time, and for the family as well. How do you do that? Well, you check and make sure the foundation's in good shape, and for that, you should call our good friend Michael Hart at Ox Foundation Solutions. When you call him, he'll come out, he'll take a look, he'll ask you what you might be seeing that might be of a concern to you, and things that might be a concern, windows or doors that are hard to open or shut. Maybe you're seeing some cracks in the outside brick or in the basement walls or in your sheetrock around the house, or you got a whole lot of dampness or even standing water places in the house. You want to double check that. Left untreated, and it is a foundation problem, we're talking tens of thousands of dollars in damage later on down the line, and you don't want to do that. Get ahead of the game. Call Michael Hart, 205-362-6419, or email him at mike@oxfoundations.com. Set up an appointment. He'll come out, take a look at the house, go all through it, inside and out and under. And at the end, he'll come up with a no cost to you, no obligation written foundation assessment so that you'll know exactly what's going on. If there's nothing wrong, he's going to be straight up with you and tell you. He's already done that with at least 2 people that he has told me about here in the East Alabama area. He does it all the time. He goes all up and down in and around the state of Alabama. If there is something wrong, you have it in detail in written form, and you'll know approximately how much it's going to cost because he'll give you an estimate at the same time. If you do have something wrong and you use Ox Foundation Solutions, which we highly suggest that you do, you mentioned 15%. You mentioned the promo code WEST. We'll give you 15% off just because you mentioned the promo code WEST. 15% off of whatever it was going to cost you originally. So get the appointment done, get that peace of mind, find out for sure, 205-362-6419, or email Michael Hart, mike@oxfoundations.com. And when you do, tell him you heard about it right here on the Championship Racing Network.
Stay right here for more on the Championship Racing Network.
Maybe he'll be able to get on that mic one more time. Bob Jenkins looks rough, man.
Does he?
Yeah, he does.
Ooh, yeah. That has ravaged him.
Yeah, sure has.
Let's mention that when we come back. Throw prayers out for him since we're still in this.
Well, see,
Since we're still talking IndyCar.
him. See, he said in that interview he was going to be back just for little small snippets.
Yeah.
But see, Lindy Thaxton's back too. She just beat colorectal cancer. So they get them all back.
Yeah. Yeah, but let's talk about Bob here, since this is his track.
That would be one hell of a team to be behind with Jenkins, Calabro, Thaxton, Bestwick. Good Lord.
You're not kidding. You're not kidding.
Mark chimes in. They're going to be at Mid-Ohio next week. Would you like a call in? I told him we'd let him know. Don't see why not.
Looks good so far. Plan on probably final segment of the show.
I guess so.
Good work. Yeah, there's not Mid-Ohio next week.
Xfinity is.
All right. No,
Xfinity ARC a doubleheader.
I haven't looked ahead that detail. Probably should.
Tires only. And back out to the track for more action on the Championship Racing Network.
Hey, welcome back into the show. A couple of more notes here on the IndyCar series, NTT Data IndyCar series. Got a new sponsor coming on board with IndyCar just in time for what is arguably the world's most famous race, the Indy 500. Company is Imperial Supplies. You could be excused if you hadn't heard of them, but this Wisconsin-based company is a leading national distributor of fleet maintenance and shop supplies. So in other words, if you've ever rented a car or truck, you probably have been in a vehicle that has their products. Beginning this weekend, they're an official partner of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and as such, their logo is set to adorn the iconic track scoring pylon. And according to the agreement, beginning next year, 2022, their partnership then expands to include becoming a major partner of the NTT Data IndyCar series as a whole. Company dates back to 1958 and helps service 9 of the top 10 commercial carriers and over 40,000 total customers, including Penske Truck Leasing. There's your connection. That relationship with Penske Truck Leasing and Imperial Supplies dates back 35 years. And then longtime motorsports fans, radio, television, doesn't matter. We say the name Bob Jenkins. It probably rings a bell. Longtime commentator on ESPN, went over to the Speed Network before it was bought out by Fox Sports and became Fox Sports 1. Speed Channel, Speed Network, whatever. Lately, what he's been doing is some PA work, most notably for Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, he has had some trouble, has had some health problems, cancer most notably.
Yeah.
And Bob is up there in years. I don't have an exact number, quite frankly, but I want to say 70s?
Not sure on that one. I want to say you're close.
Yeah. But either way, it's ravaged Bob. We here at CRN, and hopefully you as well, send out your thoughts and your prayers to
He
him.
is 73.
73, thank you. We send out our thoughts and our prayers to him. We've seen a recent picture of him, and, you know, my dad in 2008 passed away because of cancer. I saw what happened to him. And I've seen the reactions of how cancer can really take a person down. It's rough.
Yeah.
And that's just on the person who's looking. Can't
Right.
imagine the person that's actually going through it.
Right.
We pray for Bob Jenkins. We'd love for him to make a full recovery because his is one of the most iconic voices in all of motorsports. He's in an elite group that includes people like Ken Squire, Barney Hall.
Barney Hall, yeah.
Mike Joy is quickly getting there. There's no doubt about that. I mean, considering how long he's been in the sport, and there are others that are up and coming.
One of those guys, when you hear his voice, you immediately think motorsports.
Absolutely.
Immediately.
So, we continue to keep Bob Jenkins in our thoughts and prayers and hope that this is something that will, gosh, it'd be great if it just went away, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be. I mean, yesterday he was awarded the Robin Miller Award,
Oh, man.
which is an award that is given by Indianapolis Motor Speedway for a person who brings unbridled passion and unrelenting work ethic to enrich the sport of motorsports. It's named after Indycar journalist Robin Miller.
If you were going to put another picture beside Robin Miller's, geez, it would be Bob Jenkins, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah. No
Good
doubt.
night
it's-
almighty.
You can just pull the picture up. The easiest way to describe it, you can tell it's taking an unrelenting toll on him.
Unfortunately, it is. So, our thoughts and our prayers go out to Bob Jenkins and everybody, because he's part of it. He's part of the Indianapolis family. We don't use that term loosely. Matt and I, along with Matt Coulter and Grady Sapp, among others, are blessed to be part of the Talladega family. And, we're not even full-time employees out there. We do public address announcing on race weekends, and that's pretty much it. But we're part of that family. And, he's an integral part of Indianapolis.
Him, Dave Calabro, Tom Carnegie. That's the three names that you hear and you immediately think Indianapolis.
Absolutely.
Immediately.
Yep, absolutely. So remember him on this weekend and have him in your prayers tonight. Let's turn our attention over to Formula One, head back to Monaco for a couple of notes here. We noted Mercedes driver Valtteri Bottas had to retire his car because during the first pit stop, the lug nut on the right front wheel seemed, fused. Wouldn't allow the tire changer to pull the tire off to put the new one on, so his day was over. This week, Mercedes officials released a video of them finally getting the lug nut unstuck and removed on Tuesday.
Dear Toto, that is something that a Ziz wheel that you could hook up to an air compressor or even electric and put a little small cutting wheel on the end of it that's about paper wide, something that could have been solved Sunday afternoon.
Yeah. Team revealed that the wheel became stuck when the air gun that was used to loosen the lug nut on pit road actually stripped the lug nut instead and made it impossible to remove. So instead of attempting further work on the car on pit road, they decided to retire. They packed the car up and headed back to the race shop. Tuesday, a video was taken showing a mechanic working on that lug nut and finally getting it to the point where it released.
Yep, that's a good old fashioned case of cross-threaded nut on the first pit stop. Tried to get cross-threaded nut off of said spindle, stripped the head off of the spindle nut, which holds the wheel under the spindle. Therefore, you are
Toast.
out of luck.
You are toast.
Yep.
Most of the other stuff is really all behind the scenes news, strangely enough, when it comes to Formula One. We start off with longtime FIA president Jean Todt. Remember, the FIA is the governing body over Formula One and several other motorsport series around the world. Jean Todt has been the president of the FIA since 2009, but he's decided that he will not seek another term. He is officially, at the end of the 2021 Formula One season, leaving a vacancy as president that already has a couple of people campaigning to fill. One is British barrister, read American lawyer, Graham Stoker. Stoker announced he would seek the office as of Tuesday this week. He's got backing from Danish 24 Hours Le Mans winner Tom Christensen behind him. Reportedly, Christensen would also be part of his leadership team should he get it. Stoker's currently the deputy president for sport in the FIA and has said that should he be elected president, Christensen would actually then take over his old role. There is actually another much quieter candidate. We didn't know about him until this guy, Stoker, actually said he was a candidate. The first candidate to announce he wanted it, a Dubai native, Mohammed Ben Sulayem. He's a former rally driver himself. He announced he was going to campaign for the job earlier this year. In December, when the voting will take place, it'll happen among 246 members. No, Matt and I are not among them, who represent some 145 countries around the world.
Darn it.
We'll have to see. There is good news for Todt and whoever is going to be the next FIA president, as Formula One, we just talked about it last week, had their biggest crown jewel race, the Monaco Grand Prix. And it continues to add viewers here in the United States, which is a market that Formula One dearly wants to become a bigger player in. Witness the fact that we're going to get two races, one in Texas, Circuit of the Americas, assuming that they sign their extension of the contract, which seems like all but a moot point now.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's going to be a race in Miami. As for television, the race aired twice in rather quick succession, since it didn't have the regular competition from the Indy 500 or the Coca-Cola 600. Its live airing actually happened on ESPN2, not even the main network. It took place on the Deuce. It was seen in over 930,000 homes, according to Nielsen ratings. That's an uptick. We'll get back to that in a moment. And then later on in the day, the race aired again, a replay, on ABC, the mothership, if you will, at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. I call it the mothership. ESPN's technically, in the grand scheme of things, what they call the mothership. It's the main network, though. 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 11:30 a.m. Central Time, and the replay netted more than 760,000 pairs of eyeballs slapped on it. Again, the live airing, despite being on ESPN2 and not ESPN, continues to show an increase over the 2018 and 2019 Monaco Grand Prix telecasts, which were either on the main network ESPN or on ABC themselves. The 2020 Monaco Grand Prix was canceled due to COVID-19 concerns. It's also notable in the fact that 930,000 plus homes, according to the Nielsen ratings, is the fourth largest cable audience for any Formula One race to date.
Huh.
This is some good news to build upon.
True. Absolutely.
You got a ways to go to catch NASCAR, which
Yeah.
generally can grab 3 to 4 million viewers in a heartbeat.
You've got a long way to go to catch Indycar, too.
That's true. They can generally get 1.5 to 2 million for just about any race, and if you get, like this weekend, the Indy 500, they start to rival NASCAR's best, truth be told. But hey, again, it's a start.
Yeah.
Let's go for it. And then there's some sad news regarding the FIA presidency's role, as it turns out. The former president, the one just before Jean Todt, Max Mosley, passed away earlier this week. Mosley began as a racer himself. He got up to Formula 2 before he ended his driving career following a serious crash in a Lotus F1 racer at the Nürburgring, and we're talking the long 12-mile-plus long track. While he had a law degree, he instead decided to go into the racing world. He co-founded March Engineering in 1969. He was noted by no less than Bernie Ecclestone. When Ecclestone found that he had a law degree, recruited Mosley for the Formula One Constructors Association, becoming their official legal advisor in 1977. He was central in working with the teams, Formula One, and the FIA in drafting up their very first Concord Agreement in 1981, the agreement between FIA, Formula One, and the teams about set rules. He left the sport for a time in the 1980s, but he rejoined it in 1991. Timely, considering that in 1993, he was elected the FIA's president. He held the post until Jean Todt was elected it in 2009. Max Mosley died of cancer at the age of 81 years old. We haven't talked this series in, I'll be honest with you, I don't even know how long. Because they really haven't made a whole lot of news. I think we talked about them one time.
Did we actually talk about them at all?
We have. Because it's one of those things. It was kind of like Formula E back when they started 7 years ago. They were kind of a curiosity.
Yeah.
The W Series. This is that all-female driver series that is about the equivalent in FIA standings of Formula 3. Ran their inaugural season back in 2019. British racing driver Jamie Chadwick won the title. She's since been signed as one of the... she's not really a reserve driver as such. She's kind of a test driver, if you will. I want to say for Williams.
Yep. Correct.
She's doing a lot of simulator work, things like that. They took last year off because of COVID. Earlier this year, we mentioned the fact that they were planning an 8-race season. Well, now we have a little bit more detail and a schedule change. No, it does not involve Canada. Surprising.
Yeah.
But anyway, all 8 races going to be run on the undercard with Formula One. So wherever Formula One is on these 8 weekends, that is where the W Series will be. They're going to have their season opener. They were going to have it in France. Well, so that's Canada heavy. Canada's France light. At least Quebec is. Anyway, due to travel restrictions that are still in place for some drivers, they decided that the first 2 races would be with Formula One when they go to Austria. Austria has now 2 weekends on the Formula One schedule because of travel restrictions that basically nixed a Turkish Grand Prix. I know you can't tell the races without a scorecard. Thank you, Canada. So Canada quits.
Take off, you Jose.
That's what Canada said to Formula One. Canada quits. Formula One says, well, let's try Turkey. And then started noticing that there was travel problems between Turkey and Britain. So they tried to get Turkey and Baku, Azerbaijan to switch dates, which would have put more distance between the Turkish and British Grand Prix. Yeah, Baku said, no, we're not switching. So Turkey was no longer available. So they said, you know what? We did, when we got back to racing last year in 2020, we went 2 times in Austria. Let's do it again.
It's about time, eh?
It's about.
Pretty much.
So Austria gets 2 F1 weekends. The end of the 2021 season, where British racer Jamie Chadwick is back to defend her inaugural season title, will end on back-to-back weekends right here in North America. They're going to race on the undercard at COTA in Austin, Texas, and their season finale will be Mexico City on Halloween weekend, late October. At this point in time, there are 20 slots available. There is only 1 American driver announced. It is Sabre Cook. Cook raced in W Series Season 1. But that being said, according to the series official website, there are still 2 more seats available. So you might get a second American driver, but there's no guarantee of it.
Yeah, doubt it.
There's several British drivers,
Quite
including Jamie Chadwick. And then we get from one curiosity to the other, Formula E. And while not being promoters of the race itself, when Formula E heads to New York City for their racing weekend, July 9th through the 11th, the promoters have actually turned to the Sports Car Club of America, or the SCCA, for a little bit of assistance. They put the SCCA, for all intents and purposes, in charge of volunteers. They're going to be trackside all around the course that is being carved out of the streets of Brooklyn that weekend. If you want to be in New York City, and I don't know why you would, but if you want to be in New York City for the race, they're seeking volunteers that would be flag wavers, people on pit lane, course marshals, or runners, gophers. If you're chosen, you would get lodging and a ride to and from the hotel on each course day if you commit to both Saturday and Sunday action. You got to travel there yourself. Just noting. And there are some requirements, depending on the position. You must have pro racing experience for either the flagging, communication, or pit lane slots. If you're not eligible for those, though, you could still be involved as a course marshal or a runner. You can sign up online if you're interested at msreg.com/2021-FE-NYCE pre. If you want those again, no.
Simple enough.
I mean, no disrespect, but how many people from Alabama really want to go up there and do this? But if you're interested, they're looking.
I'm going to say this.
And you got a little over a month to be able to prepare for the trip.
Not even me. I'm not.
I won't deny that there would be minor interest for me to be a part of a Formula E or Formula One or NASCAR or Indycar or an NHRA race in something like that. I'm not going to New York City.
No.
I have zero interest in ever going to New York City.
Yeah.
If I were to ever go to New York City, it would be for only two things. See the Statue of Liberty, which is sitting out in the water and is technically on New Jersey's side of the border if you were to look at it.
And it's pretty cool.
And to go to the World Trade Center Ground Zero. That's it. I couldn't care less about Times Square. I couldn't care less otherwise about Manhattan, Brooklyn, the Bronx, Queens, Staten Island, Coney Island, none of it. Truth be told, and if you're a big fan of New York, congratulations. But if New York City fell off into the Atlantic Ocean like Atlantis, I wouldn't miss it.
It's pretty cool.
I don't care.
I'm just saying. It's not all bad.
I have seen, the closest I have been is going through New Jersey. I was driving up from Virginia when we lived there to see my sister who she lived at that time in the town,
Boston, right?
In the town next door to Foxborough, Massachusetts, where the Patriots play, a little town called Plainville, where we moved from when I was 5. And I took a route, and I can't remember whether it was the Garden State Parkway or what, but I took a route that I actually could see some of the skyline of Manhattan. And this was after, this was before the world 9/11, 2001. I want to say it was 94, 95,
probably
94, 95, somewhere in that area. And it was, it was neat to be able to say, okay, I've seen the skyline, but I'll be honest with you, I have zero desire to go into that city. None whatsoever. And being a Boston kid, born and raised, and having the rivalry that we have had over the course of years, and I don't care whether you're talking about the frickin' Yankees or the Mets or the Jets or the Giants or the Islanders or the Rangers or the Knicks or the Nets. Hey, I've covered all 4 major sports. I just cannot stand that city at all.
I've flown over it. That's about the best I can
Not
say.
to mention the fact that for about the past 20 years, it's been run by a bunch of morons.
True.
Not to mention the state has been run by a bunch of morons.
But honestly,
True.
I will say this. If you haven't ever been,
I know.
you need to at least once.
No.
Just once.
No.
Go in, see a show, see the statues. Yeah.
I've been
Once.
as close to New York City as I ever care to be. It just holds no interest for me whatsoever. I've been through the state. I've seen the city. I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good. I got 4 states that I need to get to mark 50 states in my life. I've been to New York State. Don't care about anything else. One more note here, and then we'll be done, and we'll come back and we'll talk about CRN story time, and we'll make some predictions for the weekend. Back to Formula E and Mexico. That's their next race up, by the way, coming up next month. They're going to be in Puebla, to be specific, not Mexico City. But not all the drivers that started the season in those cars are going to be there for that race. Talking about Dragon Penske Racing, they had to make a change since one of their regular drivers, Nico Muller, has decided to drive his DTM entry, German sports cars, in other words, for the season opener in Monza that'll be happening this weekend instead of Formula E's ride in Mexico. So to take his place, the team has turned to a former BMW factory driver. They've installed 22-year-old Joel Eriksson. The team's just re-signed a reserve driver. He's got some open-wheel experience. He finished second in Formula 3 in 2017 behind a guy who we know pretty well from Formula 1, Lando Norris. He was also part of the Formula E rookie test that was held in Marrakesh in 2020 last year, along with the driver who's actually going to be his Dragon Penske Racing teammate in Mexico, one Sergio Sette Camara. Good luck. With that being said, we now put news to rest, and we get commentary. CRN Story Time is next, right here on CRN.
I love it when you push the.
So you wait for the delayed reaction. Or wonder if you mishit it.
For some reason, we only have one channel on our board input. I can't figure out why. I don't know.
That was a good one right there. You chose, I think you chose the right one. It stands out. It's different from all the others. So I think you chose well.
Thanks.
I mean, the more I look at it, the more I like it, you know?
Yep.
It's not that I ever hated it, it's just that the more I look at it, the more I like it.
I sped it up a little bit too, and
Yeah, I don't see any problem with it.
brought the transition down a little bit, so it snaps quicker.
Don't you just love the behind the scenes stuff?
Oh crap! Today's that drivers only broadcast.
That's right, too. Kevin Harvick leads off. Which, I mean, let's face it, this dude's setting himself for a broadcasting career right after he gets done anyway. But we've known that. How long has he been doing this? It's for like 4 years now?
3 or 4 years in a row, yeah.
And he's led the entire way. Do you have the list of all the people that are involved?
I did, kinda. Yeah.
Okay, keep that.
I think it's coming up.
What is it? Oh, us back.
Only, fuel only. Go, go, go. We're back to the Championship Racing Network.
Welcome back in. We got a little more than 10 minutes left here before we are all said and done. For those of you that tend to watch instead of listen, in other words, you're not going to be checking out the PRN broadcast of the Xfinity Series race at Charlotte today, the Alsco Uniforms 300.
Yep.
If you're going to be watching it on Fox Sports 1, it is their annual drivers-only telecast.
Mm-hmm.
And as he has for the past, and we can't remember whether it's 3 or 4, and it doesn't really matter, because either way, we know that he has been the lead announcer really pretty much ever since it started, the drivers-only telecast.
Right.
We're talking about Kevin Harvick. Kevin Harvick, I don't think he's stepping out of the car too soon, but let's face it, he's setting himself up for a broadcasting career after he does finally step out of the car. So he's your lead announcer. Who all is involved in this one?
In the booth with him will be Joey Logano and Ryan Blaney.
Logano's a fairly regular part of that telecast.
Pit road reporting will be Christopher Bell and Eric Jones.
Oh, going some young guns there.
And in the studio in Charlotte, just right down the road, will be Brad Keselowski, Ricky Stenhouse, and Chad Knaus.
Had to get a crew chief's look at it. Is this Stenhouse's first time?
No.
Can't remember when he did it before.
Stenhouse started in when Danica Patrick came out of the studio because they had her in studio.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Well, there's a shock because at that time they were dating. Not anymore.
Nope.
Anyway, so you have that to look forward to.
Yep.
And then, of course, tomorrow, Indy 500, Coca-Cola 600. Let's go ahead and do those predictions right now. You want to go Indy 500 first?
Indy 500, I would be insanely, idiotically stupid to not go with the Iceman himself.
Yeah, it's really hard not to choose Scott Dixon. Good gosh, it's hard not to choose Scott
he's
Dixon.
swept everything all week, all month. Let me say that.
I will say that I have been impressed by a couple of drivers who are starting deep in the field.
Yeah.
They jumped up on their practice sessions last night, one of them being Alexander Rossi. But I'll be real honest with you. Other than Scott Dixon, if you said you got to choose somebody other than Scott Dixon, Colton Herta.
Not bad.
I think I might just have to go with the hot hand, Colton Herta.
If I had to go somebody outside of Scott Dixon, I'm immediately looking towards Graham Rahal.
It's not a bad choice either.
I'm looking that way.
Yeah. We know they got good equipment. Takuma Sato won in Ray Hall Letterman Lanigan Racing equipment last year.
Yep.
So you never know. Then that brings us to NASCAR's longest race of the year, Coca-Cola 600 tomorrow evening.
Whew.
A lot still to be determined here,
Yeah.
but let's face it, it's Charlotte.
Yeah. It is.
You want to lead off? Because I can lead off, and I can tell you right now, I know where I'm squarely looking.
Go for it.
Hendrick Motorsports.
Considering you can throw a rock to their shop from the track.
And over the course of the place, which driver is the question? And I'm not sure I have the answer to that right now. But the one who has he made a lot of noise when he came back into the sport this year, but he hasn't made the biggest headlines this year, is the guy that I think I might be looking at. And I think I might just go Kyle Larson.
Yeah. I've got to agree with you on that one if that's one I had to pick. But
I can't discount Kyle Busch, whether you like it or not.
I'm going to say SHR breaks through this week.
My gosh, they need it.
Yeah.
Harvick, or are you going somebody else?
I'm going 4-ball corner pocket.
Okay. They need it.
Yeah.
Like I said, we know they need it. And you mentioned it earlier on, Riley Herbst in the Stewart-Haas Racing Xfinity Series ride. He topped the speed charts in the final practice.
The only practice.
The only practice. That's good news. Riley has certainly not been anywhere near either Cole Custer or Chase Briscoe as they have been over the last couple of years.
Nope.
But I could see Riley Herbst. I can certainly see SHR bringing their biggest gun to this particular race. They want to do well. Everybody wants to do well at the home race, and I can certainly see SHR bringing their best gun to this particular race.
Are we sure SHR has only one car?
Officially.
Yeah. Officially only
Officially,
one car.
they have only one car.
Because that McLeod Haas machine is back, but it only has a 99 on it this time.
Who's driving?
That would be Chase Briscoe.
Oh, well, yeah. We saw what he did at Dakota, so.
Yeah.
I'm not predicting that Riley Herbst is going to win. I'd like to see it as a Stewart-Haas Racing fan. I would certainly like to see it. And again, Stewart-Haas Racing needs that shot in the arm.
Yep.
Because they have been, I'm not going to say they've been far off this year, but they've been just off enough, and everybody else has been better.
Mm-hmm.
They need that. And Riley Herbst could be the nice start. And if they could sweep this weekend, Herbst and, as you predicted, Kevin Harvick, that might just be what they need over at Stewart-Haas Racing.
Agreed.
Yep. Okay.
Agreed.
So with predictions out of the way, how about a little CRN story time? You got yourself an advanced Father's Day gift.
Yeah. Everybody, I'll just say it like this, everybody knows the story of what my wife and I have dealt with over going on now the last 3 years. It's, trust me, nobody wants to go through it. Nobody needs to go through it. I hope nobody ever has to go through it. But unfortunately, that's going to happen to somebody. But she, I can't even remember what I did for her for Mother's Day now. I can't even remember.
It was memorable to her, not so much to him.
Well, she just came out of nowhere end of last week, I'm wanting to say, and just said, just pick you somewhere to go on a trip. Huh?
What?
What? Where? Pick you a track that you've never been to and go. That's like telling a 3-year-old, go get all the Skittles you want. Simply put, that's like telling a kid to go get your Skittles.
Yeah.
Go get what you want. Okay.
Telling my wife or his wife telling me or Matt, pick any track you want, is the equivalent of a kid in a candy store.
Yep.
Yes, please.
So I got to looking at the scheduling around the time frame. Got to looking. I'm thinking, got a few options here. Well, we had already been talking about going to Nashville that weekend. Logistically, Cup race wouldn't really going to work on Sunday because all 38,000 seats have already sold out, and then tickets on the secondary market are a little on the high side, in my opinion. A little on the high side. Mm-hmm. So we're going, which is where I'll be in a couple of weeks. We're going to go Friday night to the Camping World Truck Series race because Brett's going to be running that race as well. So I'm going to go at least go to the facility. But after careful consideration, actually it wasn't that hard.
No, I'm sure it wasn't.
Combined with a flight credit, combined with points I had used built up through booking sites that I have attained, combined with the ticket that she purchased that I helped her purchase, we're taking a little trip to Fort Worth, Texas to the All-Star race on June the 13th.
Very nice. And he will join us from there.
No, I will be here.
Oh,
I don't.
That's right. That's a later one.
I don't fly until Dallas. I don't fly to Dallas until that afternoon.
That's right. Never mind. There is a race though that you'll be joining us on location.
Nashville. That's Nashville.
So, there you have it. We're continuing to knock down more. And if you say, "Well, why aren't you going, Steve?" Well, unfortunately, that brings me to something that is going to seem a little bit self-serving, but I'm going to ask for it anyway.
Yeah.
See, I'm now 52 years old. I'll turn 53 later on this year. I'll be wide open with that. I have not been the best steward of my own health. That's a subtle way of putting. I felt like I was 10 feet tall and bulletproof, and it turns out I'm only about 5 feet tall and far from bulletproof. I have to prepare for doing a whole lot of adulting. And one of those things is the fact that I'm going to undergo a minor medical procedure coming up on Tuesday of this week. Yeah, it's a heart cath procedure. So that's going to be on Tuesday of this week. And, you got to go through all the other adulting stuff. And let's just say that I can't roam too far from a bathroom coming up on the day that he's going to be in Texas.
Yeah.
In preparation for a procedure the next morning that, if you're any kind of an adult of 40 to 50 plus years old, you know what I'm talking about. And I'm not going to get gross about it right here on the air because this is a family program and you might be eating breakfast.
Yeah.
So, but I am going to ask for some prayers. Again, I don't think that this is going to be anything horrible. This is a fairly routine thing. But again, it is a medical procedure at the same time, a heart catheter. So you got to look for, problems. So I'm going to say right offhand that I will appreciate any thoughts and prayers that you can send my way about 9:30 Central Time, God's time, on Tuesday morning.
Done.
So there we have it. All right, so we've made predictions. We've done CRN story time. What else we got?
I just know the week after I get back from Texas, well, actually, it's going to be 2 weeks because I'll be in Nashville the weekend after I get back from Texas. Probably going to be a really big story time.
Yep.
Because I'm going to do some good facility scoping.
Yep. And we are also hoping for another trip, maybe out to Texas later on this year. We're hoping that that'll be worked out. We're not going to say what or when until anything gets specific.
Let's just say when I go to Fort Worth in a few weeks, the negotiation processes will begin.
And this hopefully will be both of us because by that point in time, hopefully my adulting procedure will allow me to. Y'all have a great week. Enjoy the racing tomorrow and make sure that you watch the pre-race ceremonies as well. Because, again, both Indycar and NASCAR do such a great job of commemorating Memorial Day and the men and women who have lost their lives in the defense of this country and recognizing those men and women who are currently serving. So make sure you do that. And on Memorial Day, whatever it is that you're doing, whether you're just out relaxing at the lake or at the house or traveling or going to the beach or whatever it is, take some time out. And remember, on that day, because Memorial Day has been set aside for these men and women who gave their lives in the service of this country, remember them, even for just a while. And if you're looking for a trip to take and you have the time, at some point in time, Washington, D.C., specifically just outside of it in Arlington National Cemetery, an amazing place to visit, a bit harrowing, but you want to talk about a must-do if you've never done it.
Yep.
Do so. So commemorate Memorial Day as it should be. Enjoy the racing, and we'll talk to you again next week right here on the Championship Racing Network.
This has been a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.